We have our grinder fully assembled. Next step is to prepare our brisket to run through the grinder. We need to take a look at the hopper size. We need to cut up our meat to make sure that it fits in through that hopper hole. I like to glove up when working with foods with fat or a lot of oil. Makes hand cleanup a lot easier. All right, we are looking good here. We are grinding all of this up. So we're just gonna look for anything that doesn't belong in our meat. Got a little bit of silver skin here. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna cube this up so we can run it through the grinder. So as I cube this up, I'm going to put it on a cookie tray or a sheet tray. And then that will allow me to put it in the freezer and get this chilled so I can run it through the grinder. Throwing your meat in the freezer for about 20 minutes helps reduce smearing of your grind. And you don't really have to chill the parts if your meat is nice and cold, because the meat will do that for you. I'm going to take some of this fat, save it, in case I want to change the ratio of the meat to fat or lean to fat. We'll see how that works out as we're grinding. Now, typically, if you use like a chuck roast, that averages out to about 80-20. This might be a little more richer, a little more fat in there. That fat cap is pretty thick. All right, folks, there we have it. We have just under 19 pounds of brisket cubed up, ready to go into the freezer for chilling for a little bit. Those take 20 minutes, maybe 30. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to portion this out into smaller trays so we get some airflow around all of the meat. That way, everything's nice and cold and firm for when it goes into the meat grinder. So we're all set. We'll be back shortly, 20 minutes. All right, our brisket has been in the freezer for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes. It's nice and firm. Next step is to get this through the grinder. I'm doing this in small batches to keep some of the brisket in the freezer, keeping it nice and firm, making sure it doesn't soften up too much before we put it in the grinder. Boom. We will need a bowl to grind into. Got the hopper ready. Power switch. Let me glove up before I get to work here. Get some meat into the hopper. Get our stomper. We're running it through a number 10 right now. I've changed my mind a little bit. I'm going to do 2 grinds. I'm going to grind this twice, and then half of it I'm going to do a finer grind. Coming out nice and heavily, no smearing. This is about 1/3 of my brisket. Nice big grind. I'm going to run it through again, but before I do that, I'm going to put it back in the freezer to chill it up a little bit more. So it's nice and firm. I don't want it to start smearing. Here's my second batch of brisket. Keep your fingers out of the grinder head. Make sure you use the tools. So this grind is looking pretty fatty. I'm going to reserve some of the fat and not put it all into the grind. I want a little bit leaner. This is nice and pebbly. I do not have a problem making a hamburger with a grind like this that's nice and rough. So half the batch I'm going to run through the 10 millimeter again, and then the second part of the batch I'm going to run through the 4.5 millimeter. This here is going to go back into the freezer, chill it off a little bit more, and get it ready for the second part of the grind. I have the first third chilling in the freezer. This will go in with it as well. So before I grind this, I'm going to set aside some of this fat. I want a little bit leaner blend, I guess. I'm going to save that fat and I'm going to render it down into some tallow. That way I can use it for cooking. So what I'll do is I'll run it through the grinder and then put it in a crock pot and let it cook all day. Render out the fat. Looks good. Nice blend. That's nice and marbled. Up in the hopper. I think we'll go with that. This thing is awesome. So much easier than the stand mixer attachment that I have. So much faster. This is so nice and such high quality. Meat's coming through nice, no smearing. It's nice and cold. Grind is looking good. All right, so that is it for the first grind. This is nice and pebbly. Look at that. We're gonna grind this again. And what that'll also allow us to do is mix the fat in a little bit better. This is gonna be a nice fatty blend here. I'm glad I cut out some of that additional fat. Look at that, nice and pebbly. This is gonna go back in the freezer for another 20 minutes. And then we'll do a second grind on half of it, and then with the 10mm die, and then do a grind with the 4.5mm on the other half. If you like what you're seeing here, please like and subscribe. Click the buttons below. Also, tell a friend, share it with a friend. It's been 20 minutes, and we are going to do the second grind of our brisket. I'm going to load this into the hopper as much as I can. This is nice and frozen on top. And if you watch, you'll see how cold the head gets as we grind. Nice, good, large pebbles. I really like that. So I'm gonna take this, throw this in the fridge, keep it cold while I grind up my second half. First, we're gonna swap the die out. Now, the nice thing about grinding your own meat at home is you can adjust the fat content, you can adjust the flavor by adding different cuts of meat. Make sure your meat's nice and cold before you put it through the grinder. That way you get a nice grind. The first thing I'm going to do is to portion my larger grind out. So this is my larger grind. It's been in the fridge, chilling out. I'm going to probably portion a little bit of this into 1 or 2 pound portions and wrap them up and put them in the freezer. And then the rest I'm going to weigh out into about 4 or 5 ounce patties and package those and freeze them for future use. 1 pound. 1 pound. Have some stretch wrap here, plastic food wrap. Pull off a nice big portion, like this. Pull off this right here. I like to square it off, make it nice and thin. That way it defrosts easy or more even. Bring this over, tuck in the sides. Nice square portion. Fold the sides over, flip. Pull out a little bit more, fold the sides over again. Cut that off, and then wrap that down. There you go, there's 1 portion right there. That's 1 pound of coarse ground meat. Second one. Now with this last batch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a little bit of a mix because these are going to be my patties. So we have just under 3 pounds. And take and portion this out into 5 ounce patties. I like that size patty. Well, that's a little over 5. Take that off. That's good. There we go. We got 9 burgers out of that. So here I have some parchment papers. We're going to shape these into balls and then flatten them out and then bag them and put them in the freezer. So what we want to do is get some parchment paper, roll these nice and firm. A lot of people like leaving it nice and loose. I like to firm up the ball, make sure that everything sticks together, make sure we get all the air pockets out of there. Put that down on a parchment paper, put one on top, and then you take any plate. Happy holidays, everyone. And then you press down, nice and even. Then you have a nice patty ready to go in your skillet or onto the grill. These things are about 1/4 inch thick. Nice size for a patty. It'll shrink up a bit. There we go. If you want to use a hamburger press, you're more than welcome. I just like using a plate because these allows me to get them nice and wide and thin. So here we go. We have 9 burgers. 9, look at that. These things, I'm going to throw them in the freezer for a little while to get them chilling. Here's my fine grind. That looks good. Looks good there. So I'm going to portion this up into 1-pound portions. All right, so there we have it. Out of that 19-pound brisket, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pounds of ground brisket. We have some coarse ground and we have some fine ground. This was done with the 10 millimeter die twice. This was done with the 10 and the 4.5 millimeter die. And then we have 18 burgers, quarter pound, and then 5 ounces. So 4 ounces and 5 ounces. I'm gonna package these up later and enjoy them on the grill. That's it for the video today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you so much.